God dear. Well, I tell you, that guy's got some guts who took it. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, give the audience what they want and give them something, and that's certainly what they just did there. So Ahmed Johnson nonetheless gets the victory, but not the way he wanted, but by DQ. And again, so far the theme of in this this event, Matt, is no DQ. Just use anything you can for these grudge matches.
The Royal Rumble should be contested under those rules to some extent as well, I guess.
Yeah. I'm feeling. Match just going over just under 9 minutes, that match, so not quite as long as obviously the first, which went actually just under 17 minutes, so you're right there, Matt, on the time they got for that first match.
Yeah.
So we see Ahmed Johnson going backstage. We're going to get another replay here.
Oh, that table exploded and one hit the guy on the head.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Down.
Just doesn't look comfortable at all doing it like that. So, they're really going to make use of this replay, aren't they? Every angle covered by the looks of it. I had Johnson falling on him at the end.
So this must have been as well one of the first kind of times they started doing replays, because I don't remember them doing them like before this too often.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they'd always tried to bring it in, but it never went down too well. They didn't have quite the good technology that they needed for TV. Here we go. There's a legend, Terry Funk. This is what we're talking about when they sort of bringing guys in and out. And Terry Funk was definitely one of those guys. They'd love to do that. Of course, he had another different name, but in this they are referring to him as Terry Funk. There's the Nation of Domination in their numbers. So these guys in one group.
You wonder what half of them do.
Carry stuff around with them or something. What were they doing in between? He's getting the up with his people. Well, he's saying that he's irate. So I'm guessing from what I'm reading on the titles here, he's in the Rumble anyway. So this is at a time, Matt, where you used to have a match and still go in the Rumble, whereas nowadays that's changed now. It's like if you have a singles match, you don't get to go in it. So that's cool. And there we go. It's one of our big favourites now. Now we get a lot of messages, of course, to the man Vader, who definitely goes down well on our podcast, Matt. And I think again mutually well respected from both of us as arguably one of the best big man workers of his time. And I've said it many times, I'll say it again even, that this guy in Japan was such a massive draw, and of course he was picked up by Jim Ross, who wanted to bring him into WCW, who again he was worked on top. He worked with Ric Flair at Starrcade, worked in a retirement match, in fact, if Flair lost that night, and when he got to WWF, although they kept the name, Matt, and the mask, obviously, just for some reason, whether it was to do with, of course, what many people say, which was Shawn Michaels stopping that from happening, but just never really got quite going where he probably could have ended up, and should have ended up probably in a lot of ways in WWF, Matt, which was unfortunate.
I'm guessing this is just before Kane's arrival as well. So, So at this point, he should have and would have been like filling that gap. You know, that should have been his role, to be that big, scary, dominant, masked kind of beard person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As we see the Undertaker now coming out, and again, incredible to think, Matt, that 20 years on, Undertaker still here, still in this character. Even at this point, Matt, like fans would think this guy is like a legend almost. At this point, I'm not saying like a legend, but certainly his presence was just so massive. This entrance was one of the best entrants, probably the best entrance that we're ever gonna get to see. I would say, really fortunate that I got to see it a few times. We'd gone to SummerSlam and seen it as well, and it's got really something about it. And until you see it, it's hard to explain. But I loved watching this when I was younger. Loved the way they did it, and the way the lights all came on and everything else. In fact, I find it sort of more eerie when they used to do it back here, and they used to really turn everything off and do it that way than the way it's done today. In fact, probably because of the big Titantron that goes on in the backstage, kind of takes you away from it a little bit. But this is definitely one of the big entrances, and of course Undertaker, well known. He's from Texas himself. Coming out in this match, and of course, Matt, this time I take it you would have been a Taker fan yourself, even as a kid.
Oh yeah, right from the beginning. He's always had that something special about him, hasn't he? And just the way that they marketed him, and the way that he portrayed this character and took what was essentially a gimmick and turned it into something that was his own and made it mean something. And like you were saying about the entrance, I used to love it as well. I mean, even watching it at home, like on the big events when they really went out, I used to get like the goosebumps just watching it at home. So that's how I know when someone's really nailed their character and got their entrance and everything, every little aspect that you can get. Even like this, turning the lights on and then the eyes, it's all iconic. Like if you say to anyone about Undertaker's entrance and they're a wrestling fan, they know what he's going to do. Like each little step and how slow he is to get to the ring, and then turn. All those little things, they'll always be remembered. Like even 20 years on from now, even.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the Undertaker in there, come out to the ring. Not sure what the hell that is above them. Looks like a flying saucer. It's obviously something to do with what's going on. Yeah.
So who do we think he's fighting then? Is it going to be someone like Mick Foley?
What's that?
Who do you think Undertaker's fighting? Is it Mick Foley, you reckon, or?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Vader, isn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say, have I missed something? Yeah, on a different one.
I was so mesmerised by the entrance again, I'd forgotten the previous entrance. That's what I mean. Even though it takes away the shine of the previous guy, and with Vader's Vader, another kind of iconic entrance, only because of the music. It gets people going straight away. Yeah,
massive pop when you get that, no doubt about it. Love the jacket that the Undertaker's wearing. Massive, great thing there he put on. But the Undertaker, full character here, for sure. And of course, always the incredible thing, Matt, is the idea of this guy who'd worked so much, not just in WWF, but the fact of where he used to work. Like, this guy never lost his touch in WWF, mate. He was always, massively doing something in WWF. I do not remember a time where Undertaker was doing nothing, or they couldn't find him something to do. That's for sure. So, always had a massive presence in there with whoever he was working with. This is going to be an interesting match because I can't really recall these two having matches. I do remember Vader and Kane, but not so much Undertaker and Vader here. But so it should be interesting. And again, Vader's no small guy himself. Like even in height, he's quite a tall guy as well. So this is going to be an interesting one. And both guys
it's
that
always deceiving, isn't it? When you look at two big guys like that fighting in the ring, you kind of get the illusion that they might be average height, but you forget that they're two huge guys.
Yeah, totally. And both very agile for their height and weight as well. Which is the other thing. There's the famous sitting up there from the Undertaker. Used to love it when he used to do that. Used to wait for it.
All all these little things that he does, like at this point, are some things that we'd never seen before. Even I used to love the way he'd get clotheslined over the ropes and not always land on his feet as well. I'm sure we'll see that through.
Yeah. Well, we're back onto the outside here, Matt. I knew it wouldn't be too long that something like this would happen.
I'm guessing this is following the trend of no disqualifications.
Yeah, it's got to be. It was Vader. At this point, it's worth pointing out because people might wonder who he was with, but he was with Paul Bearer at this time. Putting things that split had happened, obviously, with Paul Bearer would go towards Mankind and all the rest of it, but Paul Bearer would form a team later down the year between Vader and Mankind. I don't know if you remember that, Matt. Very odd combination.
No, I don't remember that one. It's not really one that stayed with me there.
Yeah, I don't think it stayed too long in WWF either, to be honest with you.
97 was a kind of a weird year for me anyway. I mean, I watched bits of the wrestling here and there, but it was only in 98 when I was a weekly kind of watcher.
Sure, yeah. But, so far these guys have been working at quite a strong, fast pace, I would say. See the Undertaker just lift Vader up like nobody's business. So slam him down. Here comes the big boot. That's the way you do it properly as well. Bloody height on that he gets is unbelievable.
Better than Hogan's one.
Yeah. He's done it for that. I was always fascinated with Vader's mask. I always used to find that was a good thing for him to keep on. Certainly added to his character, Vader. Because if you see him with it off, he looks like quite a gentle giant, Vader, when you see him with that mask off. So that mask really made a lot of difference in what he was doing. Of course, that all started in Japan. That looked uncomfortable. Just about to get some old school, and look what happened. Even the dead man.
It's got to be so difficult to walk that tightrope like that, and so it always makes you wonder, like, how comes no one else usually pulled him off? Because one little tiny slip.
Yeah, and we've seen it before as well. I don't know if you remember Kane trying to do that, and he slipped off in I think it was about 2003. I don't know what show it was on, but you can probably get that on YouTube. Just type in Kane falling off the rope, folks, and you'll have a little bit of a crackle on that, because he tried it and literally it did not look good. Tried to rescue it, but it went even more worse by the time it happened. It's almost like that video where you see Matt Hardy come out and topple himself all the way over the top when he's standing on it. And what's this we got going on? Who's that? Is that Todd Pettengill? Not quite. Can't see who the hell that is, but he's talking to somebody. Seems a bit weird to do this during a match, but okay, I'll go with it.
Yeah, it's a bit distracting from the action here.
I was too happy if I was the Undertaker.
And it was a typical Shawn Michaels fan.
Yeah, of course. What the hell this has got to do with anything, I do not know.
Was a bit of a problem with Shawn Michaels, I suppose, at this time. He wasn't really drawing in the older male kind of audience.
No, not at all. I think that was the thing. I think that if you go back to '96 Survivor Series, Sid, who was playing the typical heel, he was cheered because again it was a New York crowd, and New York's always takes a different stance on. Doesn't matter what era it was in. They are the home of the WWF, and they do things a little bit different there. And I'm telling you, Shawn Michaels was not popular whatsoever. He was, without a doubt, not popular. And so, it definitely was at a time where Shawn was not getting the right kind of response. But of course, in San Antonio, I think it was always going to be, a decent response for him. Like, you get him back there. But it was odd because Sid almost played a baby face in Madison Square Garden, then would face Bret Hart, in the show after that, and In Your House, and he played a babyface there as well, because it was, of course, at this time Bret